Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube. And today is Saturday, May 28th. And I decided today I would do a stitch with me while I read an unexplained mystery. And I may even do a little motivational story, tell you about the rest of my day yesterday. So remember, I got my second COVID booster yesterday. Then had a work day, and luckily I got done work by 4:30. Day went all right. It just seemed like a really long day, I guess because I had been up since like 6 or something. I don't know. And I also, so we have jobs Tuesday and Wednesday, and because of the holiday Monday, they confirmed early. So I do a lot of preparation for each day. And so I was also doing that. So my workday was filled for sure. And I had wanted to go to Michael's to pick up another light peach Prismacolor. Michael's sells Prismacolor pencils open stock, so you can buy them individually. Because because Prismacolors are wax based, you have to keep sharpening them. So you're going to use the pencil up. And given that I've been coloring so much skin here lately on these pictures, I'm already using like the light peach I already used like half the pencil or something. So I was like, I need to go there and like pick up a couple. And I also wanted to try to get a couple other white gel pens because the one from Jelly Roll isn't my favorite. Like I needed a bigger point, not a fine tip. So I go to Michael's. I find a really good white gel pen. I think it's a Sigma. Really like it. It works very well. I used it last night. And I found the Michael's open stock pencils. Man, they did not have a lot. I don't know if that's because people were buying them or they just weren't restocking them. So they had one light peach. And then I'm looking around and I'm like, what color is that? It was also a light peach. It was in the wrong spot. So I was able to get 2 light peach pencils, which should last me a while. And, I don't know if it's me. It seems like the clerks or cashiers in retail stores now just don't give a shit. Like, I go up to the counter. Now, when I walked up in line, there was no one in line. As soon as I get up to the register, then there's like 8 people behind me. And I'm like, oh, good Lord. But the girl she was like, hi, how you doing? But then she was like talking to her friend while she was ringing my stuff up. And I don't know, something about her was off-putting, not to mention. And again, I think this is just me. I worked in retail all the way from being a teenager through graduation college, okay? I really looked at this girl. It looked like she just rolled out of bed. Like, she didn't have any makeup on, which, okay, don't get me wrong. You don't have to wear makeup. That's not where I was going with that. But her hair was like in a messy side bun. She just looked unkempt, if that, you know what I mean? And I'm like, when I worked in retail, because I worked at a clothing store, I worked at a TJ Maxx, I worked at a party store through college, a video store. I was always someone who got ready, like fixed hair, put on makeup, dressed decently. You know what I mean? I don't know. I was just blown away. And then, so Office Depot, yes, I know I said I would never go in there again. They are directly next to Michael's, and I really needed a new file organizer for my desk because what happens is I will put like our job sheets for the next day in a slot. Then I have like my expenses notebook and a notebook with like passwords and stuff in it that I like to keep in another slot. And then on the bottom slot, I like to keep like referrals for future doctor appointments and things like that. Well, I have job sheets for 3 days. And I'm like, you know what? I need to get a file organizer that's like 4 or 5 slots. I need something more than 3. So I said, all right, I'm going to walk in Office Depot because it's right next to Michael's. That's the only reason. And I found one. And I actually really like it. It wasn't cheap. It was fucking $50. I'm like, why is this 50? Everything is just expensive, literally, right? So I go up to the register and it's this young boy. And I say young, he's got to be, I would say he's probably in his early 20s. And I'm thinking this is because as I get older, it seems like the kids that work behind these counters are younger and younger and younger. And it's true. I mean, those are like teenager, 20-year-old, most of the time, jobs, right? So they had this big plexiglass up because of COVID. And I couldn't fit the file thing underneath of it. So I said, okay, well, I'll hand it to you. So he scans it, rings it up. He hands me the receipt. Now, here is where he didn't say anything when I walked up. Here is where I was just like, what? So I'm always very cordial when I'm buying something. He hands me the receipt and I said, okay, thanks. Nothing. Didn't say one word. And I just walked out and I'm like, you know, when I worked, especially when I worked at the party store where you definitely were like one-on-one with people. I always said, hi, how you doing? And I always, when you were leaving, thanks, have a nice night, have a good day. Always said that. How hard is it to say that? I don't know. Yesterday, I was irritated yesterday. So when I came home and I was talking to Bill and I'm like, is it just me? He's like, no. I was like, it seems like when I look behind the counter and I see a guy or a girl that looks like they're 12, I'm like, oh, Lord. Now, and I also feel that like 95% of people in that industry, like at retail jobs, it is like the 5% that are amazing. Like there's a cashier at Food Lion that was utterly unbelievable. There are some, Chick-fil-A is a good place. Like their people are always very nice. Where else was it? There's a handful, right? And I said to Bill, what's sad is that we're blown away by people who act like that when that is what should be the norm, right? Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. And so, yeah, I was just, it's like, that's why I order from Amazon. So I just don't even have to deal with it. But it was nice to get out of the house and, you know, but I was there. Now, Bill was over our neighbor's house, around the corner. And luckily, before I left the house, I texted him and said, hey, I'm going to Michael's. I just got done work. Luckily, his keys were on the counter because then I didn't lock the door. I did close his shed. And I texted him and said, I didn't lock the door, but I closed your shed. So I was already like 2 minutes from home when he texted me and said, oh my God, thank God you didn't lock the door. And I said, I texted you. He's like, yeah, my phone was in my pocket. And so I got home, we ordered pizza for dinner, watched TV the rest of the night. We actually went to bed kind of early for a Friday. He was really tired. He had been helping our neighbor all day. I was tired. Yeah. Now, what's good is that, you know, a lot of you commented or sent me a private message and was like, after my second COVID booster, I felt like crap. And I'll be honest, after all my other COVID shots, I didn't feel well the next day. I feel fine today. Let's go. My arm hurts, but I can deal with that. I fully expected to wake up and be like, no. I feel perfectly fine, perfectly normal. I felt a little off yesterday in the evening, but other than that. So last night I continued coloring on my Hannah Lynn piece, and man, is it looking good. Now, I learned a couple things. You learn as you start coloring again, right? Or as you start coloring. I colored the background. I think what I need to do is color like the skin and then do the background, if there's a background, and then do like the rest of her, because the one I'm doing is Vanessa and she's a mermaid. So I colored her, and I colored her like bathing suit purple, and then I did the background in like some blues, and it's not enough of a contrast. Like if I would have done the background first, I probably would have done her bathing suit in shades of red or pink, and that would have stood out more. Like in my pieces, I like contrast, if you know what I mean, so stuff stands out. But I'm on her hair now, and that's the last step, and then I'll be done. So I'm hoping to get her hair colored tonight. What I've been doing, remember I cleared out my bedroom, so my whole dresser is empty except for like my grandparents' picture and my makeup case that I take to retreats. So I've been storing my colored pencils and stuff down there because I've been coloring in bed every night. Yeah, so I just set it there. Today, my new colored pencil organizer comes, so I cannot wait to get that because it turns. Like it's on a Lazy Susan kind of thing. And yeah, it was a guy in Virginia that makes them, so I'll show you in Monday's video. So you can see it, I'll link it. It was, I want to say $35. I'm sure it's well worth it. Because each little, it's got 7 like tubes, and each one holds about 15 pencils. So that should be enough for sure. But yeah, I can't gush enough about the Hannah Lynn Artist Edition books. Fantastic paper. Like I can't. And I put 2 videos in my watch later list that I'll probably try to watch tonight of how to pick colors and the best Prismacolor combinations, because I'm trying to just have combinations and have them. So when I want a good green combination, here you go. So I don't have to put too much thought into it. But yeah, loving the Hannah Lynn books. And someone commented, and yes, Hannah Lynn is also an artist with Heaven and Earth Design. Some of her designs have been translated into cross stitch. And then she even has diamond paintings with Diamond Art Club. So she's killing it. She has merchandise. You can buy different stuff with her art on it. And then, the Patreon and the coloring books. I mean, she really has done really good. If you like that kind of art, I love her artwork. There are so many of the pictures that I can't wait to color. Yeah, can't wait. So got up today. I was up early today for a Saturday. I was up at like 6. I couldn't believe it. I got the Wordle in 3. I'm at 22. My streak right now is at 22. Remember, my previous streak was 75. I'm aiming to get up. I'm aiming to get past 75. That's my new goal. I really want to get to 100. I'm aiming. So, yeah, my streak is 22. I got it in 3 today. And what's funny is not yesterday, but the day before, when I had to go get the blood work done and then come back and go to work and do all that, I meant to come home from the blood work and do the Wordle, and I totally forgot. So we were sitting downstairs that night, which was Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? No, because I didn't work Wednesday. It had to have been Thursday. So we're sitting down there and he's like, oh, we didn't show each other our Wordle. And then it hit me. I'm like, wait, don't show me because I didn't do it yet. He was like, what? And I said, my God, thank God you reminded me, because man, I would have been pissed. I would have been so mad if I would have gotten up on Friday morning, because if you miss a day, it resets your streak. Your streak would then be 0. I would have been livid. He was like, oh my God. Yeah. So, but it's pretty good that I've gotten basically 75 plus 22. So I've done 97 of them. And so basically I've done it for 100 days and I only missed it twice. That's pretty good. And what's amazing is I missed it 2 days in a row, which I was like, I couldn't believe it. Yeah. So today we're not doing too much. I'm doing this video. I have a massage at 12:30. Right now when I'm filming the voiceover, it's 9:30 a.m. Bill is over our neighbor's house helping him with his boat. So he'll be doing that for a little bit. I'm not sure what we're going to do. We're not really doing anything today. Like I said, I have my massage, and then by the time I get home from that, take a shower, get ready, it's going to be almost like 3 o'clock. Tomorrow we're going to my dad's, which my dad, I haven't talked to him in like 4 days, so I'm not sure what's going on there. And I texted him and said, hey, what time do we need to come over? Haven't heard back yet. We're supposed to go over there tomorrow for a cookout to celebrate Memorial Day and my birthday, because I haven't gotten my birthday gift from them yet. And then Monday, Bill and his daughter and her boyfriend, they're going fishing in the morning. And then we're going to have a little cookout for Memorial Day. And luckily Tuesday, so my doctor wants me to get a hepatitis B vaccine. So I have to call on Tuesday and schedule that with the lab. And I also have to call radiology place. I have to get a breast MRI. My doctor wants me to get that like every 2 to 3 years, and it's been that long. So I need to call and schedule that for sometime in June. And I have all these records I have to give them and stuff. So I'm hoping when I call to do that appointment. And what's nice about the radiology place is they have appointments like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. So, because it takes about 45 minutes for the MRI. At least that's what it was. Because they do it with contrast. So they have to give me an IV and everything. And yeah. But I like the place that I've been there before. That's where I got my thyroid ultrasound. And so I just didn't want to drive to Mercy, because driving downtown to Mercy, that's like half my day. So we'll see, because once I do it once there, then it will be much easier when I have to do it, 2 years down the road again. But yeah, so I have to fool with that Tuesday morning. But luckily, our job Tuesday is only supposed to be 2.5 hours, so that shouldn't be, I should be able to do that. I may even try to get in Tuesday afternoon for the hepatitis vaccine, just get that out of the way. But we'll see, because they're probably going to be inundated come Tuesday with phone calls because of being closed Monday for the holiday. But yeah, so I think that's all I have to share with you. That was a lot. I've already talked for almost 20 minutes and haven't done any story. Sitting here having a delicious cup of coffee. It's nice to have a weekend where you don't have 3,000 plans. I hate that. Okay. So this unexplained mystery is called Second Life. Losing a child is the most devastating tragedy that a parent could be called upon to endure. Many never recover. The emotional trauma often renders lives and marriages and families apart. Now, imagine losing 2 children in a single day to a willful act of malice. Oh, no. That is exactly what happened to John and Florence Pollock on the drizzly morning of May 5th, 1957. The Pollock's 2 daughters, Joanna, aged 11, and Jacqueline, aged 6, were walking to a church service that morning in the town of Hexham in northeast England. With them was their friend Anthony, who was just 9 years old. As this threesome made its way towards the parish church, a car suddenly emerged from the mist, veered across the slippery road surface, and mounted the curb. The vehicle struck the children at high speed, driving them into a wall that ran along the sidewalk. Good. What? My God. They never stood a chance. Joanna and Jacqueline were killed on impact. Anthony died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Let's hope that was like quick, that those kids didn't feel anything. But how? What? Despite appearances, though, this was no accident. Really? Eyewitnesses told police that the driver had deliberately aimed her car at the children, gunned the engine, and driven into them. Dude, what? It would later emerge that the woman was depressed and suicidal after losing her own children in a custody battle. That very morning, she had imbibed a potentially lethal dose of aspirin and phenobarbital. She had then gotten into her car and driven around town, intending to crash the vehicle into a wall and end her life. Instead, she had snuffed out the lives of 3 innocent children. She would eventually end up confined to a psychiatric facility. None of this was of any solace to John and Florence Pollock. Their girls were dead, taken from them in the cruelest possible way. I can't imagine losing both of your children at the same time. Like that. And I think of that movie with Robin. Why can't I think of his last name? Mork and Mindy. The gentleman that committed suicide. Why is it eluding me? Anyway, it was Annabella Sciorra, Cuba Gooding Jr. I gotta look it up. That's gonna bug me. Robin Williams. Why could I not think of that? Robin Williams and Annabelle Sciorra were married. They had 2 kids. The 2 kids got in a car accident with the nanny one morning, and they all died. And Annabella Sciorra just couldn't handle it. She wound up losing her mind, was put in a psychiatric facility, got out, and they were fine. And then Robin Williams was a doctor. So he wound up trying to help this car accident in a tunnel, and he gets hit and killed. Now, Annabella Sciorra has lost both of her children, the nanny, and her husband, all in the span of like a year or two. Like, it's not a big period of time. And so you see Robin Williams go to heaven, or what they think is heaven, and then Annabella Sciorra commits suicide, and she winds up being in purgatory, and it's about him trying to find her. Oh my God. OMG, that movie. I love that movie. I want to say it's called What Dreams May Come. Such a good movie, and it makes you really think, is that what heaven is like? God, I hope so. People noisy AF outside. Okay. So the loss left them broken, grief-stricken, simply devastated. So devastated, in fact, that John began to indulge in a delusion. What? He began to believe that his daughters would be returned to him. When Florence discovered that she was pregnant in early 1958, what in the actual fuck is out there? When Florence discovered she was pregnant in early 1958, he confidently announced that she would give birth to twin girls and that these children would be Joanna and Jacqueline, returned to their family by reincarnation. This bizarre proclamation was not well received by Florence. The Pollocks were staunch Catholics. Reincarnation had no place in their belief system. The issue would become the source of much disagreement between them. Furious arguments ensued, and for a time, the marriage teetered on the brink. I bet! However, Florence should not have concerned herself too much with her husband's misplaced beliefs. John's assertion was that she was expecting twins. She wasn't. Her doctor had assured her of that. Except, dun dun dun, the doctor was wrong. On October 4th, 1958, the Pollock family welcomed 2 healthy baby girls into the world. They named them Jillian and Jennifer. John was overjoyed. He believed that his daughters had been returned to him. Right from the start, he began to seek out proof of his reincarnation theory. Jennifer had a small birthmark on her left hip. Jacqueline had a mark in that exact same place. Jennifer also had a tiny crease on her forehead, in the same spot where Jacqueline had carried a scar from a fall. To John, this was validation of what he believed. To Florence, it was inconsequential. She remained unconvinced, although her skepticism would be frequently tested over the years that followed. As the girls grew older, it became clear that Jillian was more mature than her sister Jennifer. Jillian had entered the world just 10 minutes before her sibling, but the age gap appeared far greater than that. Jillian was protective of Jennifer, motherly towards her. Joanna had been the same way towards Jacqueline. Their parents also noticed other things about the girls, small things that gave even the doubtful Florence pause. They had similar eating habits to their dead siblings. Jillian liked the foods Joanna had. Jennifer had similar preferences to Jacqueline. Despite being twins, they even had different body types. Joanna had been slender, Jacqueline a bit stockier, and the twins seemed to mirror this. That would be creepy, wouldn't it? One day, shortly after the girls turned 2, they asked their parents for their old toys. John and Florence were confused. What toys were they talking about? Then John remembered that he had boxed up the toys belonging to Joanna and Jacqueline and stored them in the attic. Now he brought down the toy box and was amazed at how his daughters divided the items between them. Jillian took the toys that had belonged to Joanna. Jennifer took those that had belonged to Jacqueline. They even started calling the toys by their names that their dead siblings had used. What? By now, even the skeptic in Florence was being tested, and there would be plenty of other strange occurrences to make her wonder. Jacqueline had been learning to write at the time of her death and had a unique way of holding her pencil, clenching it in her fist. Jennifer had the same habit. Joanna had enjoyed brushing people's hair, especially her father's. Jillian did the same thing. The girls were both terrified of cars and would visibly flinch if they heard one revving up. Once, their mother overheard them playing a macabre game. Jennifer was lying on the floor with her head cradled in Jillian's lap. Jillian tells her, "I can see blood coming out of your eyes. The car got you." What? Another time, Jillian pointed to the mark on Jennifer's forehead and said, "That's where Jenny fell and hit her head on the bucket." Jennifer had never suffered such an injury, but Jacqueline had. That is just too uncanny, right? Another incident occurred when John donned an old work smock to do some painting around the house. The item belonged to Florence. She had previously used it when helping out in the family's grocery delivery business, but she hadn't worn it in years. It had been in storage since long before the twins were born. They would not have even seen it before. However, the minute that Jillian saw her father in the smock, she asked, "Why are you wearing Mommy's coat?" Many of the incidents mentioned thus far could probably be debunked by a devoted enough naysayer. However, where things got truly remarkable was when the Pollocks moved back to Hexham after 4 years living in Whitley Bay. The family had left their hometown in 1959 when Jillian and Jennifer were just 3 months old. They returned in 1963 when the girls were 4. They should have had no knowledge of the place and yet were able to point out landmarks like the school Joanna and Jacqueline had attended, the church they had gone to, and the playground that they had loved. There is no possible way that they could have known about any of these places, yet they did. It was shortly after the Pollock family returned to Hexham that the twins started to lose their memories of their past lives. By the time they reached the age of 7, these remembrances were lost altogether. They would grow up to be normal, well-adjusted children and adults. However, Jillian later recalled an experience she had in 1981 when she was 22 years old. The vision that came to her was extremely lucid, as though she were experiencing it firsthand. In it, she was a child again, playing in a sand pit in the garden of a suburban home. She was able to describe the house and garden in detail. It was a property that the family had once rented in Wickham back in the early 50s. Jillian had never lived there, of course, right? But Joanna had. According to her parents, the sand pit had been her favorite place. Many believers, or perhaps those who just want to believe, cite the case of the Pollock sisters as proof of reincarnation, but is it really? Might there not be some rational explanation? Perhaps. Skeptics justifiably point to the fact that Jennifer and Jillian were born just 18 months after the deaths of their siblings, at a time when grief still hung heavily over the household. God, you scared me.
Hello, love.
Hi.
Is this a scam?
Wait a minute, let me pause. Okay, Bill got one of those spam text messages and he didn't know. We don't have M&T Bank. Yeah. Okay. So, grief still hung heavily over the household when the other siblings were born, and Joanna and Jacqueline would undoubtedly have been discussed both by their parents and by the girls' 4 male siblings. Good night. They had 6 children. They were likely exposed to a lot of the backstory in this way. Possibly. A slightly more abstract theory is that the twins might have absorbed some of their foreknowledge from their parents. Their mother was pregnant with them at a time when she was still mourning the deaths of their siblings. Emotions like grief produce hormonal changes in the body, specifically an increase in the stress hormone cortisol. Studies suggest that this can cause childhood problems such as unwarranted fear. Then there is John Pollock and his belief in reincarnation. His infant daughters would undoubtedly have picked up on his dizzyingly emotional mix of joy, fear, and sorrow. It would be surprising if they were not impacted. For example, their dread of cars might have come from their parents' own feelings about automobiles, having lost their daughters in such tragic circumstances. Such emotions are easily transferred to an impressionable child. But this does not and cannot explain other aspects of the case. Specifically, it falls short of explaining the very precise details that Jillian and Jennifer recalled about their dead siblings' lives. That remains a mystery. In his book, Children Who Remember Previous Lives, A Question of Reincarnation, psychologist Ian Stevenson investigated 14 cases, including those of the Pollock sisters. His conclusion was that the possibility of reincarnation could not be ignored. In fact, Stevenson believes that stories of past lives are far more common than we might imagine. He believes that parents often dismiss these stories as childish fantasies or encourage their children not to talk about them. If we were to pay closer attention, we might uncover something astounding. Wow, that was quite a story. I've never experienced something like that, but you know, I was thinking about this the other day because think about, I like to think that that when we die, we can't just be gone, right? Our body, the vessel, fine, but our soul, our energy, the essence of who we are, I feel like that still lives on somewhere. It's got to. I can't imagine that we just poof, be gone. No. All right. So we are going to just read the Unfuck Yourself entry since this video is already over a half hour, and that's a pretty good stitch with me, right? All right. That was a good tear, right? Okay, so remember, this applies for today and tomorrow, so the 28th and the 29th. You're always here. You're just not always here for what's here. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, it's about, I guess, staying in the moment, right? And I like to think that I soak up the present and the moments that are happening and spending time with family and friends, and even the little moments of in the morning having a cup of coffee and reading my book for a few minutes, things like that, really, really enjoying those things. Yeah. Okay. I hope you guys all have a great weekend. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing and spending about 33 minutes of your day with me today. And I hope you enjoyed seeing me stitch on the But First Hot Cocoa pattern. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.